And what's funny is he didn't like. It wasn't like a forceful like. He was just like. It was open his mouth and just.
Like a fire hydrant.
Like a fire of chocolate buddy vomit. Just. So we've discussed what my, the movies I was brought up on. I'm wearing a Jaws T-shirt.
One of the best movies of all time.
It is currently, well, it's my favorite movie of all time. It's so well put together, and I actually let last year we have a large. I guess we can call it a theater in my house. Would you call that
wow, you're going to humble brag. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, the Lord got it for me. So it's a neat setup. I've wanted something like this for a long time. Giant screen.
Epic. It's legit. Dude, he has chairs that they have lights like Tron. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, theater seating with neat little lights and all that. And good Dolby Atmos surround sound. It's really nice. And
that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah. We watched when we had these friends over, we watched Jaws, and they were a couple. They are still. And the wife had not seen Jaws. And she's I think she's the same age, or just she's around the same age as my wife. So she, not much younger than me, but a bit. No, I think she's a bit younger than me. Yeah. But she's still ample time to see Jaws. And to my knowledge, she had either never seen it or never seen it all the way through. And much like John and Luke were mesmerized by the 78 Superman, Jaws freaked her out. I mean, like legit screams in the theater room.
It's because it's good filmmaking, man.
It just really is. Now, it's such good filmmaking. I know I saw Jaws, and I know I saw Jaws 2. I definitely saw Jaws 2 edited for TV at my Uncle Stan and Aunt Sharon's house, and it traumatized me. Now, they didn't mean for me to see it. I saw it. I think I saw it by accident.
Jaws 2 traumatized you?
That and Jaws 1.
Yeah,
they were playing those. So, but Jaws 2 has some pretty intense moments in it.
I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, there's a lot more of the shark eating people.
Okay.
And so when you're a little kid, it's horrific. But especially Jaws 1 when he eats the boy, Alex Kittner. So the thing about me is I would never see something scary on TV and cry or scream. I wouldn't. I would just sit there like I did everything else and just let it just go, all of it going in. And when it was time to go to bed, or when I was left alone to my enormously vivid imagination, that's when it would come back.
That's when things kicked up.
Oh, buddy. So for Jaws, I remember, again, 4, 5, and 6, and even in second grade. It started to wear off in second grade a little bit. It doesn't happen now, but you'll hear what I'm talking about in a second. I would be
to me
terrified that Jaws was going to come up through the toilet and bite my behind. Or especially the Alex Kittner scene when, because he's floating chest down on the raft. When I would take a bath, we didn't think then to, because at the time they didn't have souvenir cups from places, the big plastic souvenir cups that you would dip in the water and rinse off with. I don't know if anybody does that. Just take the filthy water that you've been soaking in and dump it on your clean body, because that makes sense.
Right.
But so what I would do is, you're a little kid, you just roll around in the bathtub to rinse the soap off. And when it was time to get the soap off my chest and neck, you can't just go like that. So like I distinctly remember, man, I go off on my back and I'm like, oh no, I'm good. And I just sit there because I knew as soon as I go like chest first into the water, like Alex Kittner was, here Jaws was going to come out of the drain. The stopper was going to come off and here he was going to come. And man, Mom and Dad would be like, why are you splashing so much? What's going on in there? Because I would literally just go, and I'd come back up really, just to get the soap off my chest and neck. And then came the part of getting the stopper out and being so certain that as soon as I took that, because it was a little plastic rubber stopper actually, as soon as that stopper came off, here he comes. He's going to come out and eat me.
I'm ashamed to say how old I was before I don't think I've ever gotten comfortable in a dark pool at night.
Oh, no, I have a pool and it's it's late right now. I probably won't go swimming with that. Yeah. I still have a good, I do, but that's so he can see you.
Right.
The lights are, he's like, there
but
it
when
is.
there are no lights, it's the worst. And when you can't see the bottom.
The worst.
Now, I was, sorry.
No,
I
please,
was messed
please.
up enough by just Jaws in general. But then, I was in high school at least. They had Air Jaws, the documentary, come out. Oh yeah, dude. And they had the surfboard that it was shaped like a seal, and there was the camera on the bottom of it. Man, that messed me up for ever, because it's just this cloudy blue water,
and it comes out of
and
nowhere.
this shark just out of nowhere just rushes into the camera, and I'm like, well, I can never get in dark water ever again.
Yeah, and by the way, hey kids, don't get in dark water.
No,
okay?
don't get
do
in
that.
dark water. You don't.
What are you doing?
Jeez, that's yeah.
Listen to Uncle. Don't get in dark water. Okay, Taylor, don't get in dark water. I feel like if you haven't, I feel would.
Like Taylor's judging us right now.
I have.
Number one.
You have Taylor.
We grew up in Savannah, and there's a bunch of random rivers and stuff, and we would just with my friends.
That's a bad thing. That means lots of snakes.
There's snakes, yeah, water moccasins, alligators. There's alligators. We would
Bull
get
sharks.
Floats, air mattresses and stuff. We just get whatever floats, and we just spend a whole day floating randomly down the river and have to make our way back eventually somehow.
You're just asking to be Alex Kittner at that point, because he was anyway. You're not. Thank the Lord that he keeps us safe.
Yeah,
but I know I'll be safe because I won't get in the dark water. But yeah, so what else about me is interesting? The number of times I have thrown up in public.
Hang on, these are not the only things about you that are interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say that was what we're supposed to talk about. I need to go back and redo mine.
Yeah. So this is all I got. Outside of this, I am not interesting at all.
I am so boring.
So boring. Pay no attention to the instruments behind me. These aren't mine. Devin comes over and plays them, and so does Taylor. And I'm like, man, that sounds really good. I didn't know it made that noise. Wouldn't that be something?
Dude, there are people that do that. There are people that they
collect.
They just collect guitars. I don't understand it. I don't know that I could ever collect something that I was like, yeah, isn't that great? I have no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, that isn't. I don't know. If you do that, comment below and let us know what it is.
Yeah.
We will not make fun of you.
Well, definitely not.
Let them trust us first. But yeah, so I do have a history of getting ill in public during this same time that we were on the road and I was very little. We were in a Kmart. Kmart was actually the first thing I read. We pulled up in a Kmart and I'm in the back seat and I think in my car seat. And I said,
You ruined my
Kmart.
joke. I was going to be like, you were 15. I was.
And I said Kmart, and my mother thought I was going to be a genius, and she was right.
She was absolutely right. You quote Superman the movie, like
Yeah, because that's going to save the world.
stupid people can't. But stupid people can't do that.
Well, I don't. I had
Guess
this
I'm not
one lady.
stupid.
Yeah, I had this one lady that I worked with. She said, "You must be an idiot savant." I'm like, "Whoa, what? That is not a compliment, lady."
It's not.
She's like, "What?" This is why I don't
was
like
that who I
talking
think
to
it was?
people.
Was it the same?
This person you don't know.
Oh, okay.
You
I
actually
thought it was
don't
the
know this
person that sent an email to Dr. Doug, and yeah.
No. Yeah.
That's for another time. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say it now. She tried to send an email to a doctor named Doug and called him, spelled it Dong. Hi, Dong. And I'm like, hey, maybe just proofread it before you hit send. But anyway, anyways, Kmart, we were at the checkout line, me and my dad, and I told him, hey, I don't feel so good. And apparently that is, when I say that, that's the trigger my body needs to immediately evacuate everything from my stomach through my mouth. And my dad, God bless him, he just did this at
We
the
can't see your
checkout
hands.
at the checkout counter. Can you see this? I don't know what to do with my hands. He just did that, and I filled both his hands, and like there's a young lady working the checkout counter at Kmart. She is horrified, and he just looks at her and says, "Can I get a paper towel or something?" And so there was that. When I was a little bit older, I think this was before Devin was born, I shut down a seafood buffet restaurant at their grand opening, by the way. They had, I think if I remember correctly, they had put out spoiled seafood during their grand opening.
Oh, no.
And the place was full. And we, at being that we didn't have a ton of money when you say, hey, it's an all you can eat thing for a pretty low price. We're like, yeah. And by the way, I say we didn't have a lot of money. My dad, he took good care of us. The Lord took good care of us. So we're eating and I'm like, I said the line. I said, I don't feel so good. I don't feel very good. And both of them were like, hey, go to the bathroom right now. And I get up and I take 3 steps and I stop beside someone else's table. And just raw. And I'll never forget it. It was particularly violent. And I'm sorry if this is grossing anybody out.
Nobody's eating.
Yeah, please stop eating for a second. So I finish, and while I'm just kind of, you know how you kind of have a moment where you're just like, where you're kind of recovering. During that moment, the people are over here. I just turn and look at them with it still in my mouth, and I hear my mother say, our dad's name is Jeff. I hear my mother say, "Oh my God, Jeff." do something. And Dad just comes by and scoops me up and carries me to the bathroom. And now I'm really embarrassed because not only am I feeling sick, but I just realized I just threw up next to those people enjoying their meal. You guys, this place was packed when I went to the bathroom. I came out. It was us and one other family, and they had moved across the restaurant. And that place closed down almost immediately.
Oh man!
I was gonna say it was their grand opening and their grand closing.
Just about. Whoever the proprietor was, I'm sorry for killing your dreams, but that was kind of on you.
Yeah,
You put out bad catfish or whatever it was. Because hey, here's the thing.
Just
I know
easy
I
to
didn't do.
by the way.
Yeah, I know I didn't eat oysters or bad. Bad. I know I didn't eat bad clams. It was either fried fish and French fries, or I didn't eat it all. I didn't even know what hush puppies were back then. Does anybody know what hush puppies are anymore? But yeah, whatever the fried fish they had that's what destroyed me, and in return I destroyed that place. The other time I did something like that was in a Gold's Gym when I was after I got married, but I'll save that story for another time.
I was going to ask how many of the stories you're going to go into because there's some good ones that I don't know should be actually aired.
Yeah.
There's one thing that that's one thing I really can say I admire that Dad did. Let me rephrase that. I admire that Dad did that for you at Kmart.
Yeah.
Because if it had been my son, I'd been like,
Hey, whose kid is this? Anybody? Man, your mom's probably really worried about you.
because man, I am out of there. Like John he's thrown up in the car specifically a couple of times. And I'm like, it's not like, let me help you. I'm like, aim for over there.
Let's see.
That makes me think.
It's about Loren. But
No, please.
I have one throw up story that Loren was a part of. So were we at a Waffle House, Loren? We were at somewhere, and I was really little, and I felt sick to my stomach, and Loren took me to the bathroom, and I remember you knocking on the door, and the guy just so mean.
That was a Waffle House.
Yeah, yelled, "Hold your horses!" And when he opened the door, he got he got feet full of little boy throw up because as soon as he opened the door, I was like, "Whoa!" and he just looked. I remember, didn't he have kind of like long hair?
Yeah, he was not.
Yeah,
he was not put together well.
Yeah, and he was not happy that I just threw all over his feet. But I remember him just like looking at me and being like, "Ugh," and then walking away. Which I guess is kind of gross because he wasn't like, I should clean this up.
Yeah. I do remember smiling at him.
I remember that too.
I was like, as I took you into the bathroom, I was like, I guess you learned today, didn't you? Taylor, you were going to tell a story?
Oh, we can keep going.
No, please.
Well, it had to do with our kids getting sick, but
we'll do it because I need Taylor interaction. We are here.
I was going to say, when was it? I was at a church event in October. I forget what it's called.
Oh, yeah. Was this last year?
Yeah, this was recent, like last year. And I let Luke eat whatever he wanted pretty much. I think he had just eaten, was it cotton candy or something? There was like a cart of ice cream sandwiches, maybe something like that. And then there was music playing and I was holding him and spinning him around and it was like I spun him around for a couple times and then I brought him towards me and he just threw up all over my shirt, like all down me. And
oh my word!
I was like, "That's my fault. I deserve that. I fed him junk food and I spun him in circles." And I walked over to Lindsay. I was like, "Hey, we should probably go now."
Okay,
we got in the car and I took my shirt off and then we drove home.
That reminds me of one of my children. Sorry, this is
the vomit episode.
the vomit episode, and I'll make it quick.
No,
But
you're good.
we're visiting. So some of Kayla's from Massachusetts. Some of her family actually own some vacation spots down here, and there was a couple of her aunt and uncles. They were down here vacationing, and we went to visit. And it was around Easter time, and so they sweetly made Easter baskets for the kids and gave John a giant chocolate bunny. That boy ate that whole bunny. I mean, we're talking like this. Ate the whole bunny. And then they were like, let's go swimming.
Oh.
So we went to the neighborhood pool. Lots of people there. And all of a sudden, John was like, I don't feel good.
Oh.
And y'all, I've never seen throw up come out of humans. And what's funny is he didn't it wasn't like a forceful he was just like it was open his mouth and just
It's like a fire hydrant. Just...
like a fire of chocolate bunny vomit. Just
Was he in the pool or?
he was. What's sad is that he was trying to get it out, and he was at the last step.
No.
He was at the last step, and then turned around, and was like to the pool where everyone is, and was like. And it was so
little buddy.
it was so straight and perfectly usually when you throw up it's like
It's like a little waterfall kind of
yeah
thing.
this
A very
was
powerful
so
waterfall. This is
this looked like an animated series
okay. Folks, Lord, please help us not get a lot of dislikes for this episode because first of all, it was the phrase. It's the same as his uncle. I don't feel good, and then kabam wham. That's what you can't do. But I will tell it because
man.
that's like I am going to tell this story. So jump ahead to me being married and working out at Gold's Gym by myself. Do a leg day, and man, when that lactic acid builds up, it gets you.
Oh man,
right?
it's real.
It gets you, and it got me. But you know how it gets you. You're just like,
Start getting a watery mouth,
Yeah, just like hard on my love. So I go to the restroom at Gold's Gym, and I'm in a stall, and I'm just like, boy, and I'll never forget this as long as I live because it's a lot like what you just said about John, and it was kind of an out of body experience because I couldn't believe what was happening. It just how any of you who have been sick before, how you're like, oh boy, here, yep, and you know what's about to happen. That did not happen. I was just like, whew, I don't feel so like, bah! and and like you just described with John, the toilet's right there. It's right there, but I'm facing the wall, just and for whatever reason, my mouth is wide open, and it is just fire hydrant. Every part of my mouth, the roof of my mouth, my cheeks, everything is just the gateway for awful.
All of your stomach contents coming out.
Everything I have had since 1978. And I'm in my early, was I 30 yet? I was either in my late 20s or I was in my late 20s. And I'm just, and the thing is, I remember, I won't describe anything other than it was just, I'm just spraying all of. I'm getting the stall wall here, the stall wall there, covering
You're totally processing this the whole time. Are you like
the whole time. I remember,
like, this is bad. This is really bad.
Like I wasn't even having the eye bugging thing that you have when you're like, oh, that it's like a switch got flipped. And I was just like, ah. And I remember thinking, am I dying? like I had a moment where I was like, am I dying? Am I going to die in a Gold's Gym's bathroom? And they're going to have to call my wife, come get your husband. He's slumped over in the stall. It's probably steroids or something like that. And I was just like, ah. And it just covered. By the way, not a ton got in the toilet. It's all over the stall walls, all over the wall behind the toilet. And when I'm done, I'm like, and I just look at everything and I walk out because I looked at everything that had just happened.
Oh man!
And I'm like,
just nope.
Like, and I take a moment to look at the toilet paper. And I'm like, there's not a.
No,
I won't.
Yeah.
No, that's gonna take a hose. Like,
Yeah. Like if I had 7 rolls of this horrible, industrial toilet paper, I couldn't
Single ply.
I wouldn't get anywhere with this because you guys, I don't know how it got the places it did.
Oh my god!
But I just remember having that moment. Am I dying? And then having that thought of how is this happening? Because it didn't feel like the evacuation process that normally happens. It just felt like somebody had turned on a switch that I didn't know was there. I was like, oh, I guess I'm doing this now.
Oh,
and then I'm just like, I'll just, hey, you've never seen anybody leave a Gold's Gym as quick as I did. I'm just walking out with my bag. I'm like, hey, what's happening there? More.
Did you ever go back?
No, well, yeah, because the martial arts class that we took,
It
they
was
would
that
teach
one?
Oh yeah, it was the one that you and I would work out in, and the ones that our martial arts school would train in. Oh yeah, I torched that bathroom, man. But I did. I was walking out like, man, they really need to get in there and clean up. There's no sense in that, huh?
Oh man!
Huh?
Oh wow!
As I power walked my way out of there, because by the way, my legs are still destroyed, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna, and I'm praying that nobody goes, sir, because I can't outrun them. My legs have just caused my spleen to turn inside out and come out of my mouth, and there was no stopping me.
Oh man! Wow.
Yeah, I'm so glad we got into this.
Whew.
So yeah, that's not the whole of my life. Some highlights. I started playing drums at 8 and did that for years and years and years and years, and then got into playing guitar and all that. But then met my bride when I was 19. She wasn't my bride yet, but I met the woman I would later marry when I was 19, and she was 16. And that was awesome. And she's been in Devin and Lindsay's lives for like a long time. And like I said at the beginning, we'll celebrate 24 years this it's amazing. Here in a couple of months.
She taught Lindsay to ride a bike, right?
Yeah, she taught Lindsay to ride a bike. Ride her bike, not just a bike. It was her bike.
Hey,
Paula went like, hey, go get this little kid's bike.
Now's a good time.
Yeah. Auntie's going to show, not Auntie, but Paula's going to show you how to pick a bike lock, and then we'll learn to ride it. But I will say this, that when I was 9, my precious brother Devin was born. When I was 13, 13 and a half. My sweet baby sister was born, and now I have all these nieces and nephews, and I love them. Now I've got Kayla and Taylor, and life is Taylor Spencer Foster right
here. Go by my middle name. Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, it goes by Spencer. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to tell your middle name on this podcast. That's that is still not his middle name. I had a different upbringing, a good upbringing, and life just keeps getting better and better. I will say that after I met Paula and we started dating, she went off to college, and we much to her mother's chagrin, we started dating. Then, much to her mother's chagrin, we didn't break up when she went off to college. And then, much to her mother's chagrin, we got married. But I was very, very broke when Paula and I were dating. And there was one time I went up to see her. She was sick. I lived in Georgia. I lived in the suburb of Atlanta, and she went to school in Cleveland, Tennessee, 2 hours away, and she was sick. So I went up on a weekend to help take care of her, and I couldn't afford a hotel room, and it was in the winter. It was very cold, and I drove up and I slept in my car, and I took my clothes and toothbrush, and there was a place that I think I showered in the gym. In the gym they had there, I showered, and once they opened the gym. But before they opened it, I actually used a big souvenir cup to relieve myself, as you do in the morning, and I was like, I'll be super sneaky and just pour it outside. Well, it's warm and it was super cold. So now everybody walking by after I tried to close the door to my car real quick, they just see this steaming liquid coming from the. Anyway, boy, sorry about talking about that. But anyway, she went to school for 4 years. We stayed together, and I learned that being poor is terrible. If anybody tells you that being poor is good and godly, they're incorrect, because he wants good for you, and he has blessed us, all of us. And I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah,
but you do it again. We all would, we all have those stories of, when it's the one, even if you don't quote unquote know it in the moment, like it's the one that you're going to stay up all night and go to work the next morning to be with them. You know, that's my story,
Yeah. I would do that again, because I remember when I met Paula, she told me her name, but I didn't remember it until the second time I saw her, because she had to tell it to me. When she told me her name, I was like, whoa. And I remember thinking that, well, I'm not going to go in. When you're 19, you're still so stupid. And the thought process I had was, because she's a very, very petite lady, very short. And I remember thinking that she was probably dating a college basketball player, and that I was going to have to really just tear him up and beat him up to win her hand. Like that would be what did it.
It's actually a duel.
Right. Especially of all people, Paula.
Right. I'd be like,
it's so weird. As men, we're so like, I could take that guy. But women are so repulsed by fighting.
They're repulsed by fighting, but they love that you can protect them. It's a weird mixture. They're like, oh, hey, don't, but thank you for protecting me.
And so now we're starting a different podcast called Women.
Right. But yeah. So, but I do like that. My first thought was, I know how I'll get her away from her, 6'8" basketball boyfriend, is to say, stand there, fair maiden, have at you, and that was going to be the player. Yeah. Dunk this fiend, have at you. But yeah, so that was the rest is history. And, but yeah,
it's fun for me, like, to remember, like, talking through my history last time. I really just kind of realized how, like, I've known Paula more than I haven't known her, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, that's a bizarre thing for me, honestly. Like, it's kind of like, oh, this is weird, because I vividly remember you coming home and talking about this girl that played the flute, and and I was a little boy. I'm just like, oh, Loren likes this girl. And I remember, Dad, you, if I'm not mistaken, you invited Dad to come to the place.
Yeah.
That it was an outreach for homeless people, if I'm not mistaken.
That's not what it was meant to be, but it's what it turned into.
Oh, it's okay. So
They meant it to be a coffee shop, and it turned into a soup kitchen.
No, I thought it was. I was a young elementary school kid, and I thought it was a soup kitchen.
Well, that's what it became. But they were like, we're going to open a coffee shop for Jesus, and everybody that was around there was just shy of being homeless, and they were like, "You guys got food?"
And that's
sweet.
That's admirable. Hey,
it's great. They were able to minister to a lot of people.
It is more admirable
tens of people
to feed someone than to sell them a cup of coffee, right?
Yes.
But anyways, I remember being there and with Dad and being like, "Oh, that's her, okay," and just like I've been through the whole thing, but it's like such a giant portion of my life, and it's fun, it's wonderful, and it it connects me to Paula even more.
Yeah.
Because of that.
I remember, and she always rolls her eyes when I tell this story because she really thought she was helping. By that time I was 19. I've been playing drums pretty much nonstop since I was 8 years old.
And Loren's why I started playing drums, by the way.
Oh.
And Devin's why I started playing. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Devin is wildly better than I was, but I knew how to play drums. I knew what I was doing for what I did, and I never needed help. Especially if it was an easy song, or even if there was a little fun rhythms or whatever. I didn't know time signatures, anything. I just heard the song and could play it and keep keep the feel and things like that. But they were doing this song that had this I don't know, what do you call it? Like a Jewish beat.
The Hebrew beat.
Yeah, the Hebrew beat.
Mm-hmm.
And where it's the boom ba boom ba things like that. And I don't know if this was dishonest. It may have been. But I played drums in this band that opened this coffee house / soup kitchen, and everybody in the band was older than me. I'm 19, and they all have kids.
Except for Paula.
Right. Well, Paula had been in the band previously. She was not anymore because they did prison ministry, and her mom was like, she's a teenager. You're not taking her into a men's prison. That was one of the reasonable decisions her mother made. And what was that? There's some feedback on here. Hello, testing 1. Hello. Test. Syphilis.
Should we take that out?
Probably, but leave everything else. Just take out the. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think, audience? Comment below. Anyway, so yeah, she came by because this is weird. It was weird for me. A young lady who was a friend of the guitar player's daughter. She came and was a big fan of mine. So the guitar player had a daughter who had a friend. Yeah, I remember that. And this young lady really, from what I remember, she wanted me to ask her out. I won't go into that. She was a very nice young lady.
And Loren threw rocks at her.
No, I did not. That is not the same girl. Would it be funny if that girl I threw the rock at finds this podcast? She's like, that's him. And she never married or anything like that. But Devin didn't hear that line. I said,
no, I did. And hopefully she's very successful now.
I'm sure she is.
And she's married. She is successful, and her husband is wealthy, and maybe Elon Musk. Probably not.
Yeah, yeah. But I tell you, she's definitely had at least one thing that knocked some sense into her. So, but anyway, you
didn't throw rocks at the guitar.
I didn't throw rocks at this lady. I mean, she was a nice young lady, and it was honestly, I was about ready to. Okay, I'll ask her out. That's fine. That's super romantic, right? I'm like, yeah, sure. So
But no, it sucks to be her
I'm pretty
because
sure
she's
I
like,
saw that
she's
Hallmark
the
movie.
okay, whatever, girl.
yeah, she's
the
the
Hallmark movie.
yeah, bless her, and that's and honestly that's unfair to her.
Is it
That's
though?
that's not indicative of who she was or whatever. It's just where my interest was at the time, and I was there just playing drums for this little band, and she was very interested, and I was like, okay, I'll ask her out, and that's all I ever said. I never did ask her out.
Good, because
But
that would be.
But what she did was she and her friend, the guitar player's daughter, they were like, we have to bring our friend to meet you so she can approve of you. And that friend was Paula.
I didn't know this.
Really?
I did not know this.
Yeah. So that's how I met Paula. And I've totally digressed from the song thing.
No, but I thought she had always just been like the flute player.
She was a flute player, but she left the band before I joined it.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Y'all,
so
this is totally this is breaking news. Like
breaking news.
Like we're talking 30 years of history here that I'm like learning. Like
this is
wild.
Yeah. This year, right about now, actually, it was 29 years ago.
Golly.
So they brought her to approve of me and make sure I was a nice guy before I asked this young lady
she
out.
Approved.
And
she definitely approved. She
the
approved
thing is,
and then stole him.
she's like,
he's great. Bye.
Good luck with your life. No, if we had her on here and she taught, she was not. She's very good about not thinking beyond the situation. That's good in bed sometimes, but whatever the situation, whatever the rules of engagement for the situation is, she's probably not going to think beyond that. Yeah. And so the rules of engagement were, I'm coming to meet this guy that my friend is going to date. So she didn't come in and all of a sudden she's like, ooh, or anything like that.
Ooh,
she comes.
Yeah. The funkin' man.
That's not Paula.
Well,
that's not Paula. No,
it's not. So I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm playing a keyboard, the keyboard that one of the band members played, and I'm just sitting up front. Oh yeah, humble flex.
Playing the keyboard.
I'm stumbling through the only things I know, but it sounded okay. And all of a sudden, her friend said, "Loren, I'd like you to meet." And apparently they said, no, I think she held her hand out and I think she said, "Hi, I'm Paula." And man, I just glazed over. And I remember seeing her, but I don't remember what I said. But I immediately knew, okay, I'm going to marry this girl. First time. Shook her hand, knew I was going to marry this girl. And boy, oh boy, that other girl she was just like, burp, just sorry, that kind of thing. But it was immediate after that I was like, okay, I need to get to know this girl. I want to start dating this girl. And so we did.
So I'm digressing, and I know this is Loren's history, and I'm not trying to overextend this podcast, but I am very interested to know, Taylor, do you remember seeing Lindsay for the first time? Uh-oh. You're taking too long. This
we'll take
is bad.
This out. We'll cut
this
this pause out.
Yeah, please pause this, Loren, because that should have happened a lot quicker than it did.
Yeah, I mean, I saw she was at the front desk, so like a lot of my early memories of her was at the desk, so it all kind of jumbles together. I do remember seeing her. I remember one thing. I haven't told her this, but I remember her with her. I saw her one time. I was coming into the church that she worked at and I was going to school at, and she was eating lunch with her then boyfriend or whatever, and seeing. I remember looking at her smiling, and I was like, that's a good, like, thinking that's a good smile, you know, and then, you know, well, gonna go off and do my thing. But
you didn't
I don't
immediately
remember.
think, looks like I've got to beat him up. Oh, well.
I think
looks
he
like
was
I've-
actually like doing push-ups or something. I don't know why. I wasn't a part
Really?
of that.
Oh, that's so
I don't know.
lame.
Like in the lobby.
Did he get an acoustic guitar out after that and be like, here's
the
this little song I
guitar.
wrote. Get the guitar. Here's a song I wrote, Lindsay.
Anyways, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah, here we go. He said, yeah, I just came up with this song. What? Somebody else has a song named this? Interesting. Anyway, yeah.
I asked that because, you know, your experience, you know, seeing Paula for the first time. I vividly remember walking through Brian and Leanne Barton's front door and turning to my right and like just like laser beams. I'm like, oh, that's Kayla. Because I knew her cousin I knew her cousin's husband at the time. And come to find out, my old vice principal was her uncle. But I had seen pictures of her and I was like, oh, she's cute. And when I walked in, I was like, pew, you know, and yeah.
Did you make that sound to her? You're like, hey.
I did. I was like, pew, pew. No,
You know what that means, right?
that's a whole story. Like that whole thing is a story that Loren has a part of. And I'm not gonna. I'm gonna choose not to tell it because it is an interesting story. And
We'll save that for the marriage.
yeah, like
episode.
it's encouraging and inspiring because you know sometimes the one that seems like they got away, it's not the one that got away.
There's only one way that makes it to where they got away, and if you can take their basketball boyfriend,
Exactly. Exactly.
have at you. Have at you. Fair
So
maiden, fear not.
Again, I'm not trying to prolong anything,
No.
but I'm very like this is new for me. This is new for me. Tell me the timeline of you meet her. It's like meow. It's like magnet. Like Android. Oh, I have a mission now. Like
Oh, I immediately go into. I mean,
you're like, look
like-
at this lick.
those those few seconds where I meet her, right? That I can't remember what I said. That moment is when, like, I thought I'm gonna have to beat up her boyfriend. Like right there, that's my first thought of I'm gonna marry this girl. I will have to beat up her basketball boyfriend. I didn't know that she was still in high school. I thought for sure she was
Which
in college.
19-year-olds like maybe wait until they're out of high school.
I had just turned. Well, I was gonna say I just turned 19. Like that would help, but
18 is
But yeah, anyway, the timeline was, and I'll get to this quick. The timeline was, I think you remember me coming home and talking about her pretty much then.
Yeah, 100% I do. So I vividly remember you being in the kitchen on the other side of the bar.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the living room, and as a young kid, you kind of mix up some stuff, but this is the way I remember it. And you're telling Dad about this girl, and I'm sitting there going, he really likes this girl. Like
Yeah.
even as a little kid, Paula, even as a 9-year-old. If y'all are coming up on what?
We're coming up on 24, but this was 29 years ago. So
I'm
about
39.
then you were about to, you were probably 9 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh, Loren likes this. And so like this is also fascinating to me because I was sidelined like just this whole time of watching this story unfold.
Oh,
Like you coming in and talking about Paula and I remember I don't even remember why I was with Dad, but I remember Dad specifically saying like, well, let's go see this girl that Loren keeps talking about. Like, and I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to go judge this girl, basically. You know?
You're giving points and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remembered, seeing her. And so in my mind, that's where it starts for me, is seeing Paula playing the flute and you playing drums. I had no idea about all the other girl.
Yeah.
And you meeting Paula for the first time. Like, that's amazing.
And
I learned something.
It was
crazy.
during, I think, that first night, where they had her come up to play tambourine for that Hebrew sounding song. And I'm playing drums, and I remember telling her, can you help me remember when the ba happens? And I didn't need help. I didn't need it. I could have done that in my sleep, still could. And I don't play drums as much anymore. But what that did is that made sure, as while everybody else is singing to the folks that came to the soup kitchen that night, she's facing me, like leaning over to play the tambourine and counting to me. And I'm just playing drums, and I'm looking around here like, oh, is that it? Am I doing it right? And she's like, yeah, you got it. And like, she'd start to turn around and be like, no, I don't think I have it. Can you do it again? And I'm just, and she, every time I tell that story, she always goes, oh, I thought I was helping you. I said, oh, darling, you were.
Absolutely helping. Like,
you were helping
me get
me
my forever mate. Like,
yeah, this was all part of the plan, and you helped the plan. But so that night I immediately went into my buddy John Young was the one who got me into that band. Some of these people were acquaintances of his. And so I immediately, he was a very good friend. I immediately said, hey, you got to get in touch with these people. And does she have a boyfriend? I need to know all I can find out about her. And so it started that night. And then we orchestrated this. Let's all go to a movie together, all of us. And she still wasn't even aware that I was interested, because she wasn't. She thought this other girl, But I remember we went to see Under Siege 2: Dark Territory with Steven Seagal.
whoa.
Yeah, in the theater.
What? You saw that in the theater with
dude.
Paula?
With Paula and all those
Time
friends.
doesn't make sense.
So that was not a date. That was not a date.
It was a date.
She still wasn't aware, but they made sure that she sat next to me, and I would ask her questions and just talk to her. And then they would make sure that we sat next to each other and so on and so forth. And then eventually I asked her for her phone number, and around that happened pretty quick. And around that time is when you and Dad came to score, just give her rating. Right. And
what was that, by the way? I'm just kidding.
Mine was like, okay.
that was great. Okay, yeah.
I was like, cool.
But then
I was in that phase of not knowing, like, girls, what?
And so our first date, I was a very broke 19-year-old, but our first date we went.
19-year-olds are broke.
Yeah, I took her to Outback Steakhouse, and then we went to see Disney's Pocahontas.
Oh, and I've never seen that movie all the way through. I'm sorry.
I haven't either, because all I was focused on was holding her hand. I remember the opening credits, and that's it. I couldn't tell you what happens in that movie. And it's not because we were, making out or whatever. She's a very good young lady. And so I was just holding the hand of the girl I knew I was going to marry, but I didn't tell her that. But yeah, so Outback and Pocahontas is where it all started. I still haven't seen that movie again. We tried. I think we tried one time. She'll have to correct me, but I think we tried to watch it again, and we were like, "Whew, this
It's
is
a really bad movie.
this
It's
is
a really
not
bad movie. That's not a
not
good
good
one.
times."
Mine and Kayla's first movie was Wall-E, so that's a better one. But
That's a good movie. That's a
so
good
this
movie.
is what I've realized ending this podcast.
Yeah.
At the next holiday, it is my opinion that we should all get together and have an in-person podcast. We should tell our stories of how we met.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning a lot. Like Loren kind of told it, but I want to hear it from Paula's angle. And like this is I want to hear more because I want to hear Paula's side. I legit I didn't know some of this stuff, and it's really intriguing. And it's I really think not to bring it super serious, but there, if you're a young guy and you're going through a situation, you just met a girl that you're really into or whatever, it can help to hear somebody's story
Yeah.
to push to get that girl. And I can assure you, if it wasn't for my brother, I was not to tell too much, but Kayla liked another guy. And my brother was like,
should I say what my line was?
yes.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go.
But I remember you telling me, oh, man, I mean, like you were crushed that she liked somebody else.
Destroyed.
I said, so are they engaged? And you said, what? I said, are they engaged? Does she have an engagement ring? And you said, no. I said, she's still available.
And the truth is,
You're
like
what?
this,
I said, yeah.
and this is for me. To me, this is really opening up a bigger subject. The truth is, it is a trustworthy saying that all is fair in love and war, as long as a commitment, like an engagement, is not involved. Because Taylor walked in, and bro was doing push-ups. That's lame. Like, thank God Lindsay didn't marry that guy. Loren was talking to another girl, and
well, she was talking to me, but let's.
a girl was talking to Loren.
He had a pocket full of rocks ready. Okay, let's let that be known.
There was a moment where I was playing drums and I look in the back of the room and she's just doing this.
Oh,
and I'm like,
she never sees.
No, but hey, if she does, if you do
Sucks
see this,
to be you. I hope you're doing well, but it's so much better on our side.
I'm sure she found somebody that would have made her much happier than I would have.
And there's a third of a chance that she's divorced. So,
oh my gosh!
Oh, is that according to statistics, or
yeah.
But so Loren had that moment
in there, by the way.
Yeah, and so Loren had that, and then met the love of his life.
Yeah,
and my girl. First of all, my girl said, "I don't like musicians, and I definitely don't want to marry PK."
I mean,
she like, God was like, watch this.
Yeah. And he's like, boop.
But she liked somebody else. I remember, again, I'm not trying to turn this into something that is not focused on Loren, but I remember talking to Kayla through AIM. She built it up, which was rude. She was like, I like a guy and I'm scared to tell him. I was like, it's okay, baby. Just tell him. And she was like, it's this person. I was like, oh man.
Oh, that is a gut punch. I feel that.
Yeah,
like you guys are married and have children. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible.
She hates when I tell this story. So I can't tell this one where I'm like, I can't tell it in the group.
Well, she didn't.
Setting. No, but
there's nothing wrong with that. She's,
But she hates it when I say it because I looked. This is the part that really gets her. I had just gotten a dog, which is part of the story, by the way. No, I won't tell it now. But I looked at my dog and I said, well, Peyton,
Oh, Peyton.
We lost another one.
No. No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But then Loren, but God,
Oh,
through Loren.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, and that's why I gave the intro that I gave, because that's, I don't know, 75% of my story, but God, because of Loren, Loren encouraged me, and I went after it and found my spouse. So
there you go.
all that to say, like, here are our stories. It's not always gravy.
Yeah.
But if you push through,
Yeah. If you don't
then it
quit.
becomes gravy.
So, yeah, that's us. We now have finished the introductions, and really the reason we did that is because we're us, the three of us and you, we're going to be pals. We're going to be friends. We're going to be buds. And you got
Here's
to
Lauren's
get
number.
Yeah, it is 948
867 5309.
By the way, I still remember my wife's phone number from when she was when we were dating, when she lived in Georgia.
So do I, but it's because it's still the same one.
I remember Domino's phone number from where I grew up as a child. 7481616.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Now that you've learned about the three of us, what commonalities do we have? What part of maybe the three of us coming up sounds kind of like your life?
Yeah.
How many places have you vomited in? Do you think you would have gotten along with any of us as kids? Are you William? Come back to us, William. But
Please come back to
come back to us. Thanks for getting to know us and letting us tell a little bit about ourselves, and we'll keep building this relationship. Us and you. Best pals. That's how it's going to be. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you next time on the Dudes Podcast. See you, gang.
Please like and subscribe in 10 minutes.